Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Vishwapad Paramahamsa Parivirajakitar Astar Sata His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Lord Giriraj Lord Nrsingadev Ki Jai Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai Nitya Gaura Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna everyone, and welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Alright, so we are reading from the third canto, chapter 24. Let's have a look if we've got the right thing here. Yes. Name of the chapter is The Renunciation of Kardama Muni. It's going to work, yeah? Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, please repeat. Brahma Ovacha Tvaya me pashitis tata Kalpita nirvyalikataha Yanme sanjagrihe vakyam Bhavan manadamanayan Brahmovacha Tvaya me pachitis tata Kalpita nirvyalikataha Yanme sanja grihe vakyam bhavan manada manayan brahmo vacha tvaya me pachitistata kalpita nirvyalikataha yanme sanja grihe vakyam bhavan manada manayan. Somebody please chant. Brahma vacha chitistata Brahma vacha Tvayame pachitistata Brahma vacha Tvayame pachitistata Bhavan manada manayan. Any of the women would like to lead? Brahmo vacha Bhavan manada manayan. Somebody else? Okay, here come the synonyms. Jai. Brahma, Lord Brahma, Uvacha, said, Tvaya, by you, me, my, Apachiti, worship, Tata, O son, Kalpita, is accomplished, Nirvyalikataha, without duplicity, Yat, since, me, my, Sanjagrihe, have completely accepted, Vakyam, instructions, Bhavan, you, Manada, O Kardama, one who offers honor to others, Manayan, respecting. And here we go, translation. Lord Brahma said, my dear son Kardama, since you have completely accepted my instructions without duplicity, showing them proper respect, you have worshipped me properly. Whatever instructions you took from me, you have carried out, and thereby you have honored me. Translation, please repeat. Lord Brahma said, my dear son Kardama, since you have completely accepted my instructions, without duplicity, showing them proper respect, you have worshipped me properly. Whatever instructions you took from me, you have carried out, and thereby you have honored me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Brahma, as the first living entity within the universe, is supposed to be the spiritual master of everyone, and he is also the father, the creator of all beings. Kardama Muni is one of the Prajapatis, or creators of the living entities, and he is also a son of Brahma. Brahma praises Kardama because he carried out the orders of the spiritual master in toto and without cheating. A conditioned soul in the material world has the disqualification of cheating. He has 4 disqualifications. He is sure to commit mistakes, he is sure to be illusioned, he is prone to cheat others, and his senses are imperfect. But if one carries out the order of the spiritual master by disciplic succession, or the parampara system, he overcomes the 4 defects. Therefore, knowledge received from the bona fide spiritual master is not cheating. Any other knowledge which is manufactured by the conditioned soul is cheating only. Brahma knew well that Kardama Muni exactly carried out the instructions received from him, and that he actually honored his spiritual master. To honor the spiritual master means to carry out his instructions word for word. Yay. Now I'm just going to say a couple of invocation prayers here. Naranayam namaskritya naram chaiva nurattamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayat nashtapraya shvabhadreshu nityam bhagavate sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki omagyatimrandasya ganandana shalakaya Chakshurun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale Swayam rupa kadamayam tarati swapadantikam. So I humbly ask for the blessings of the Vaishnava devotees so that I can give a class that is pleasing to our lordships, the Srila Prabhupada and all our Vaishnava acharyas and also the devotees. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So Kardama Muni is Lord Brahma's son, and he is manifest from Lord Brahma's shadow. But he also maintains this relationship of being a spiritual disciple, shall we say, of Lord Brahma. And it is this relationship that I'm going to be discussing today. Because this is the particular relationship that Srila Prabhupada places most emphasis on in his purport. And tomorrow I'm also giving the morning class. It's a similar subject matter in the shloka and purport. And so tomorrow I'm going to be discussing more about the father-son connection between Lord Brahma and Kardama Muni. So we are hearing in today's shloka, right, how Lord Brahma is praising Kardama Muni because he carried out his orders with exact precision, without any hesitation, without any deviation. Now, in this material world in which we are currently living, it is actually very rare to find someone who is happy to carry out someone else's orders. But most of the time, most people are heavily immersed in pursuing their own worldly desires. Right? They want to pursue their own dreams, their own fantasies, and so they don't actually want any disruption to those plans. So typically if somebody is asked to do something that doesn't seem to fit in with their own ideas for their own enjoyment or their own material prosperity, then they will feel that those instructions or those orders are some kind of a burden, or at the very least they will feel that they are some kind of an inconvenience. So yeah, for the most part, people do not want to hear instructions issued by others. They prefer to listen to themselves, to speak what their own perspective is, and especially if they are hearing something that is in relation to themselves or in relation to their own lives, then yes, they will prefer to listen to themselves. And this is, particularly a problem now in this age of Kali Yuga, in which we have this thing that we may describe as rampant materialism in society. It's happening everywhere. So, You know, but the sad fact is that what the materially embodied soul doesn't realize, that these instructions that are coming from the spiritual master, they are 100% beneficial for the materially embodied being. You know? So instructions coming from the bona fide master, yes, they will help, they will benefit the materially absorbed individual in so many ways that that individual can't actually perceive all the different ways in which the instructions from the spiritual master are helpful. And you know, this is the individual's inability to understand this is happening because they are being illusioned by the material energy, and that energy is dictating to them that spiritual authorities should not be listened to, or at least that it's not very pleasant, you know, to listen to them. This is the effect of the material energy. So we see here on the screen, Srila Prabhupada has given these very nice descriptions of these two potencies that Maya Devi works with. Right? We could say that they are Maya Devi's tools for keeping the living being ensnared in material life, because she is testing the living beings, right? So, you know, Maya Devi, she's Parvati expanded. She's actually, Prabhupada says she's a pure devotee. So she's working as a, you know, she's serving Krishna, but her duty is to test the living beings, and she works with these two particular potencies, or we can say energies. And these energies, they impact the consciousness of the otherwise pure spiritual soul. So in 2010, I actually published an article in our International Back to Godhead magazine. I published an article there specifically on this topic of how Maya Devi uses these potencies to convince the individual that, you know, material life is where it's at. Yeah, you know, forget about spiritual life. So, yeah, so one of the, right, you can see the descriptions up there. Right, one of the potencies is Prakshipaatmika and the other one is Avaranatmika. So, yes, Maya Devi, she is, you know, Krishna's external deluding energy, right, personified, and the Avaranatmika potency, right, that is described as the covering potency. Right? So that interferes with the spiritual soul's sense of identity. So, you know, a spiritual soul who is in the body of a giraffe, right, that spiritual soul will think, yeah, I'm a giraffe. I mean, that's it. You know, I'm living here with my giraffe family, I'm doing my giraffe activities, and that's it, you know, I'm perfectly happy. Similarly, the tiny ant will be thinking, yeah, you know, I am an ant, I'm in my ant colony, I'm doing my ant activities, and this is all there is to life, and that's it. Similarly, the human being will also think like that. Yes, I'm a human being, you know, I'm born into a particular family, into a particular country, and this is my true identity. So this is the effect of Avaranatmika potency, right? And this other one, Prakshipaatmika, this is described as the throwing potency. It's also sometimes described as the spell of diversion. And this is because through this potency, through this tool, that Maya Devi has, she literally throws the living being down into the material energy, convincing them that, you know, material life is where it's at, and this is where we will all be happy and so forth, right? And of course, we know that this is not the case. So, you know, these influences, specifically the Avaranat, well, actually, they both work in conjunction with each other. They make the poor materially embodied jiva close their ears to spiritual instructions. They simply don't want to hear, what to speak of, you know, acting on the recommendations that are given by the Guru. Right, and such disregard for spiritual instructions, this actually means dishonoring the Guru. And it also means dishonoring the Supreme Lord. Right? Because these arrangements, they are actually being made by Krishna himself, right, whereby the materially embodied being is given the chance and opportunity to receive superior knowledge, to come into contact with a representative of the Supreme Lord in the form of a guru. Right? And of course we know, even if just one individual becomes Krishna conscious, then so many others who are somehow connected to that person also benefits. So yeah, this is especially in Kali Yuga, we know that we have a great need to preach this Krishna consciousness to society at large. Let's have a look here. Yep. Now, as students of the Vaishnava philosophy, we here know, of course, that the spiritual individual, they cannot be happy, they cannot be satisfied, they cannot be peaceful unless they turn towards spiritual life. And the first step in doing so, yes, it is to accept the instructions of the spiritual master, right? And that must mean at least one thing, right? And yesterday, Garuda Govinda Prabhu, he was talking about this. It is humility, right? So, this without this quality of humility, or we can say humbleness, these two words mean the same thing, humbleness and humility, the individual will not be able to accept the orders of the spiritual master, right? What to speak of them carrying, what to speak of carrying them out. So the individual has to have at least some, humility within their character. And as we are reading in Srila Prabhupada's statement on the screen here, we must approach Krishna through the medium of the Guru, right? We cannot jump over the spiritual authorities here on earth, thinking that we can just, go directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because in our current condition here, we are actually, we are polluted, right? We're actually not qualified to approach Krishna directly. Right? And furthermore, we don't really know how to do it properly. We don't really know how to do it so well. So by the grace of Guru, yes, we can become qualified, and progressively we can re-establish our long-lost loving relationship with Krishna. And so in today's shloka, we are hearing very clearly, like Lord Brahma is saying to Kardama Muni, you have worshipped me and you have honored me by carrying out my instructions. Right? So these words are actually very significant, and they do embody the essence of the relationship between the Guru and his disciple. Right? So, but Kardama Muni, right, we know that he was already advanced in spiritual knowledge before this pastime took place. We know that he is a Mahayogi. Right? We know that he is a great mystic also. But first and foremost, he is a devoted Vaishnava who is surrendered to his spiritual authorities, right, the authority of the Supreme Lord, and as such, he was also, able to properly accept this mood of humility before his spiritual superior, such as Lord Brahma. So let us consider this principle in the relationship between the Guru and his disciple. Right? So the Guru is the representative of the Supreme Lord. And just like Krishna has compassion for all the materially entangled souls, so also the Guru has compassion for the materially entangled souls. Right? And because the Guru sees himself as being a servant of Krishna, he will happily deliver Krishna's instructions, right? Krishna's message to those materially afflicted souls so that they can find the right path, right, for regaining their original higher consciousness and put an end to their suffering in the material world. So this path is known as the Bhakti Marg, the path of devotion. So, when the materially entangled soul starts to walk on the path of Bhakti Marg towards spiritual self-realization, progressively their suffering is mitigated. So, progressively they will start to come out of the material concept of life, and progressively they will awaken their dormant love for Krishna. So that path towards self-realization, yes, this is the path of accepting the instructions of the spiritual master. So the instructions of the Guru, they can help the disciple to advance in higher knowledge so that they can then more easily overcome the effects of Maya Devis Prakshipaatmika potency and Maya Devis Avaranatmika potency. So this process that the guru and the disciple go through, it is surcharged with so much meaning and so much significance that, actually there is nothing else within our grasp that can match this. The most sublime thing in this world is actually the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master. Right? And when Lord Brahma says to Kardama Muni, you have worshipped me and you have honored me by following my instructions, this means that Kardama Muni has accepted the spiritual authority of Lord Brahma. It also means that he is truly accepting Lord Brahma as having superior knowledge or superior understanding to that of himself. And furthermore, it means that he is willing to shape his own life according to the recommendations that are given by Lord Brahma. So these qualities in Kardama Muni, they are qualities of a disciple who is pure in heart, pure in character, and who is not, overcome by the material ahankara, false ego. So, an important point in what we are discussing here is that, to honor the spiritual master is to honor Krishna himself. Right? We need to understand this and accept this if we can. And who amongst us here today would not be ready to honor Krishna himself at any time, any place, within any circumstance? This practice of honoring the Guru and accepting his instructions, this has actually been established by Krishna himself. So if we want to honor Krishna and accept his mercy towards us, then yes, we will be keen to accept the instructions of his representative, the spiritual master. And this is actually the real meaning of the word parampara, to receive transcendental knowledge through the succession of gurus coming down from Krishna himself. So, Krishna is the best well-wisher of all living beings, and in order to help us to awaken to our own real identities as his eternal loving servants, he sends these authorized representatives in the form of Guru. And we also know, of course, that Krishna descends here himself. He takes various forms in order to attract us to him, to attract us to his pastimes, so sort of enthuse us so that we can take a real interest in starting to make real progress in regaining our original state of existence. Right? So if we are prepared to listen to Krishna's message and to the message of his representatives, then yes, we can become reinstated in our original happy and blissful God consciousness, shall we say. So now I want to draw your attention to our own era for a minute, right, in relation to what we've been discussing. So what we've been discussing, the pastime of Kardama Muni and his wife Devahuti and also Lord Kapila Dev. So this pastime happened in Satyayuga, approximately 2 million years ago, a very long time ago. So let's have a look at that, right? Kardama Muni fully accepted the instructions of Lord Brahma, and he perfectly carried out those orders. Now, in our own era, right, we have our own dear Srila Prabhupada, who also fully accepted the instructions of his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he perfectly carried out his orders, right? So in 1922, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had instructed Srila Prabhupada to preach this message of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking world, and that really means, in effect, preaching Lord Chaitanya's message, Lord Chaitanya's mission, to the entire world, because as we know today, English is the, shall we say, the global language. 100 years ago, it wasn't. It was one of a few main sort of languages, but I wouldn't. My understanding is that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati predicted how things would go, and so he instructed Srila Prabhupada in that way. And then, in 1935, right, now this little pastime, this is the top image here, the top left-hand corner. In 1935, Srila Prabhupada was visiting Radhakund with other disciples to accompany Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati on a pilgrimage. And at that time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he asked Srila Prabhupada, well, he said to him, if you ever get money, print books. So us here today, right, 100 years on, right, we are certainly witnesses for just how perfectly Srila Prabhupada accepted and carried out these instructions given by his own guru. We are witnesses to what happens when a sincere disciple takes seriously and perfectly carries out the instructions of the guru. And in turn today, Srila Prabhupada has given us all perfect instructions for how we can stop living sinful lives, for a start, how we can purify our minds and our hearts, how we can realize our true identities, and eventually reawaken our love for Krishna. And this is the Vedic tradition since time immemorial, right? This relationship in which the qualified guru passes on his knowledge to the worthy disciple. And yes, this guru-disciple relationship, it has been established by Krishna himself. Now, another important point that I want to make concerning the instructions of the spiritual master is that when the Vaishnava guru teaches or preaches or instructs or recommends or writes, whatever we may call it, his words are never chosen haphazardly. Not at all. So, the spiritual master chooses every single word that he speaks or writes with extreme care and attention. This is because, for a start, the spiritual master is not an ordinary person. He is an extraordinary person, and he or she has studied, the Vedas thoroughly, and they understand the importance of words, every single word. So, the bona fide and authorized guru, they will never say anything whimsically or anything that is not actually highly relevant to the welfare of the materially absorbed souls, such as ourselves. So therefore, when we are studying Srila Prabhupada's books, whether it's in a class or whether we're listening or reading, we should always pay great attention, right, not only to his translations of the Sanskrit shlokas, but also to the many purports that are there, right, again, because these purports have been composed with great diligence and care on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. Right, so, and just like we've heard in today's class that Kardama Muni honored and worshipped Lord Brahma by accepting and carrying out his instructions, so we today, we can also worship and honor Srila Prabhupada and all of our Vaishnava acharyas by properly paying attention to their words, and taking them very, very seriously. And, we should try and do this with enthusiasm. All right, so in the Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami is speaking this, we need to be enthusiastic in spiritual life. So we should be endeavoring to understand and accept the words of the Guru very enthusiastically, right, and very, without lethargy and without despondency like that. Now, in today's purport, Srila Prabhupada, he mentions these 4 disqualifications that every materially embodied being has, right? Namely that, yes, we are all sure to commit mistakes at some point in our lives. We all are sure to be illusioned. Well, we are illusioned pretty much all the time. We are all prone to cheat others at some point, right? And our senses are imperfect senses because they are, our senses are being experienced through the physical body. Now, Prabhupada says that currently we are all infested with these 4 deficiencies. So, an infestation, when we say infestation, we are generally referring to a disease, some sort of contagious disease. So, whether we like it or not, yes, we are diseased at the moment. But when the individual acts on the Guru's instructions, then he can, overcome these 4 defects and actually rise up to the spiritual platform. You can come? You can come? Yeah. So now certainly in our current materially afflicted state of existence, it is difficult for us to clearly see what is truly beneficial for ourselves as well as for our loved ones, and to respond to the instructions of the Guru, right? This can be challenging for the materially embodied being because they are under the illusion of the material energy. So consequently, we are often interpreting what is truly beneficial for us as being a waste of time. And that which truly is a waste of time, we are often interpreting as being very relishable and being very profitable. Unfortunately, this is our condition here. And this condition, this state of existence means that yes, we are heavily conditioned by the material energy. It is causing us to perceive things the wrong way around. So I thought that together we would chant these 2 Sanskrit shlokas up the top there. Can you read them? It's not too small? Yeah? Okay, let's just chant it all in unison, one after the other. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam eva cha ayatavat prajanati buddhisa partarajasi adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate tamasavrita sarvatan viparitamscha buddhisa partatamasi. Wonderful, thank you. Yes, so these 2 shlokas appearing in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, they're actually quite similar in nature. Krishna is saying to Arjuna that the condition of the jiva who is absorbed in the lower modes of material nature, that's Rajas Gun and Tamagun, they cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, right? And because of this, they constantly, they are heading in the wrong direction. They make poor decisions, and they don't really understand what is in their benefit and what is not in their benefit. Right? So this is the message in these 2 shlokas given to Arjuna by Krishna. And as we have been discussing today, the most beneficial thing in the world are actually the instructions of the spiritual master. So, we would be wise to try to avoid becoming absorbed in the lower modes of material nature. Srila Prabhupada uses this word associate. He says, we are associating with the mode of passion, or we are associating with the mode of goodness. So we need to especially avoid these 2 lower modes of material nature, which are very destructive and which will take the living being away from, certainly from a Brahminical way of life, and eventually, right, as we were discussing, these 2 potencies of Maya Devi comes in, and she ends up convincing the spiritual jiva that, just forget about spiritual life. I mean, material life is really it. Sadly, this happens. Okay, so that's all that I had prepared today, and I was wondering if somebody has a question or a comment or a correction. I'm happy to hear from any of you.
Thank you for the class. Just with the talking about becoming under the spell of Maya.
Yeah.
It's so easy to, if you're not chanting the Maha Mantra. I've noticed it's pretty easy to really just fall into it, and you see it over and over again with even great devotees that maybe they stop chanting or stop chanting attentively or something, I don't know, but do you think there's things that we can do that can improve our chances of not falling under the spell of Maya, even though we're chanting every day and reading.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah. So yes, chanting. The best, there are 5 processes that are recommended by Lord Chaitanya. You know what they are, Tom? Yeah. You want to say them? Yeah.
5 processes of
spiritual life, right? There are 5 activities. I'm not quite sure what the word is that we use. 5 processes of religious life. What is it? Can't hear you. Limbs. Thank you. Limbs. Yeah. Limbs of our preaching movement. Right. So one of them is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Another one is to associate with devotees always. Right? Another one is to worship the deity, worship Krishna. Another one is living in a place of pilgrimage or traveling to a place of pilgrimage. And the last one is eating lots of prasad. No? Sorry? Reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So, I have heard it said by more than one senior devotees. Okay, so what do you all think is really the essential item out of all of these 5?
Associating with devotees.
Very good, Tom. 10 out of 10. This is often discussed as being, the core, because when you associate with devotees, then you get all of the other 4, right? Because devotees are always doing all of these. Devotees are always chanting Hare Krishna. They're always studying Srimad Bhagavatam. They are going on pilgrimage, and they are worshipping the deity. Right? So, in response to your question, yes, this is my answer. That just remain within the association of devotees, and if any one of us happens to kind of slack off on one of these 5 processes or limbs, then still we will be somehow situated properly. We'll be situated within under the grace of Srila Prabhupada, and it won't be too long until we again pick up that activity that we may have slackened off on, So Srila Prabhupada has taught like this, that, don't think that, okay, we know Harinam Sankirtan is the Yuga Dharma, but Srila Prabhupada has taught like this, that don't think that you can just go and sit in some forest and chant Hare Krishna by yourself, even if you are trying to chant 24 hours a day, because we are not strong enough. In Kali Yuga, the material energy is so strong, it is so heavy on the delicate spiritual soul. So yeah, we need the association of devotees. Yeah. All right, thank you. We have another question there behind you.
Thank you for class. So there seems to be sometimes a narrative that's opposing Prabhupada's chant and be happy, where chanting is the solution to suffering. But some people think, if I chant too much, then that will be too full on, and then I'll suffer more. Could you speak about that illusion, that mode?
Right, thank you. I have never heard that spoken by devotees, that that if we chant too much, we will suffer more. I've never heard that, and I've been around for some time. So I'm wondering, can you give me a bit more context? Where is that discussion coming from? Where is that?
So,
I've come to the pad.
Yeah, you need to press it, I think, 2 times to get it going. Yeah, nice loud voice, yeah.
In the Krishna pad,
Yeah.
just from what I've noticed, I've been encouraged to just stay at 3 rounds. Stay 3 rounds,
Oh.
And then I speak to Nara and he says, look, what are you doing? What do you mean? What do you mean if you chant more, life will be harder?
So who said that? Oh, sorry, maybe we shouldn't name the person. That's okay.
He was helping me out.
Yeah. That's all right.
Anyway, yeah, so sometimes we think that chanting more will bring up more.
Okay, well, okay, so again, my guess, I don't know the individual that you are talking about, but you will not hear that spoken, by a senior experienced practitioner, somebody who is learned in the Shastra and somebody who has, put this process to the test, shall we say. You won't hear that. We are, at the time of taking initiation, we agreed to doing a minimum of 16 rounds a day, minimum. But if you can chant throughout the day as you are doing your activities, you may not be able to hold your beads all the time. But if you can chant as you are doing whatever you are doing, that is a very, very wonderful achievement, and there will be nothing but good that will come from that, yeah. Okay, we have 2 questions, yeah. Burnout. Right, okay. Well, I think I will leave the, however your superiors in Krishnapad are organizing you, I think I will leave that to them, but shall we say from the philosophical perspective, please do not think that you should not chant if you desire to chant. You can chant 24 hours a day. You can chant in your sleep if you want to. It'll be very beneficial, I promise. Yes, Manibandha Prabhu.
Just on that point, I have heard the analogy that if you have muddy water sitting in a glass, after a while that mud just sits on the bottom. So using that analogy, when you start chanting, that can stir up all the latent material desires that you never knew you had. And in that sense, you say, my mind, because I'm chanting, my mind is so out of control, so I should stop chanting, or, you conjure up some sort of idea like that. But what is actually happening, you're becoming aware of those material desires, but they're becoming burnt away, purified. Sometimes we get very bad dreams, and that's the same thing. Material desires have been purified, burnt away. So maybe that's in reference to that idea that if people think I should chant less because, chanting too much will create so-called suffering or disturb the mind.
No, whenever we chant, yes, there may be a stirring up of the mud of, our past material involvement is what I think you're saying. There's also purification there. That purification is in every single time you are chanting Krishna's names, there's also purification there, and to some extent realization. So my feeling is that this point that we are discussing now, the ideal way forward with it, what I can see, is to keep receiving instructions and guidance from your spiritual authorities so that they can actually teach you, about what you may be experiencing, when you are starting to chant, and especially if you really want to increase your chanting, so that you can get a good perspective of what to expect in this process. Yeah. But, the chanting of Hare Krishna is very, very potent. Some people say it's like putting the washing machine on the super fast cycle, to really clean up your material life. So, all sorts of wonderful things can happen. Yes, David Gaur Hari Prabhu, can somebody give him that?
Lord Chaitanya gave the example of watering a garden. And he said when you water the garden, the weeds also grow. So he said in the same way, the watering of the hearing, the chanting in the heart makes the weeds grow. So the solution to having a nice garden is not to stop watering it. The solution is to pull out the weeds.
Thank you. Perfect. and so that to me, that is the perfect solution. Do not stop watering the garden, do not stop chanting, but under the direction of your, the people who are looking after you. Always, consult with them and speak with them, and how you can navigate your life in Krishna consciousness, and also how you can, starting to pull out the weeds, how you can give up, some of the attachments. All of us have some material attachments. That's why we're still here. So, and actually this is what we've been discussing today, accepting the instructions of the Guru. Srila Prabhupada teaches so much on these topics. So, the more you are reading and studying Srila Prabhupada's books, the more knowledge you will get about this journey that you are on. But yes, I would highly recommend just keep in consultation with your senior devotees, in Krishnapad, but also, you can speak with other senior devotees here in your community, devotees who have been around for a while. Most of them, us, are very approachable people. We're happy to speak and to offer some insight according to what we may have experienced, what others may have experienced. And this is actually the process. It's not that a devotee, a person coming to Krishna consciousness is just sort of going to walk on their, travel on their journey by themselves. No, it's actually intended to be association, so that we all get the support that we need, Okay, we have one more question in the corner. Can we?
Thank you so much for the class. On Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita that taking on Krishna consciousness, this bhakti path, is a declaration of war on Maya. This idea that bhakti is quite strong. Bhakti is more powerful than the energies of Maya. Bhakti itself, is Krishna himself, his internal energy. And however, Maya exists pervasively in our environment, and it's up to us whether we our activities either accept that energy into our lives. And I just wanted to get your views generally. Is it really just there's a declaration of war? It sounds serious, but is most of this just laxness from devotees, just not really taking it seriously, or because to wake up every day realizing, okay, this is a fight, I need to take this seriously, can be exhausting. And usually in that exhaustive process you can get... So unless you're not enthusiastic, so I just wanted to get your views on that kind of mental approach.
It can be described as exhausting. Garuda Prabhu yesterday in class, I think he gave that analogy, of paddling the boat up the river. Was anyone here? Yeah. So paddling the boat up the river, which is an endeavor, but if you stop paddling, you're just going to float down the river. So, I've also given a similar analogy before that, taking to this process of Krishna consciousness, it is like walking uphill, right? And it needs to be an uphill walk because currently we are like down the bottom of the hill, right? So, we are in the material concept of life. So, when Srila Prabhupada discusses that we are in the material world, sometimes he says, well, actually it's the material concept. We are in the material concept of life. But we need to change that. So, yes, we need to do a bit of an uphill walk. And it does require determination. All these things in the mode of goodness that we can use, right? There's quotes when Srila Prabhupada says we can, the mode of goodness can help us, right? It's not that we're aiming for the mode of goodness, the material mode of goodness, but there are characteristics in the mode of goodness that can help us, such as determination, control of the senses, and endeavoring, until the job is done, and all of these characteristics. And your specific question was how or
Yeah.
why the individual...
It seems to there's maybe this is just from Pratyaksha, just direct perception that there's a wantingness to have like a more calmer, lovely process, which is more chill out,
Right,
rather than an
okay.
intense fanatical, which seems like
Yeah,
a fanatical
well,
is
I'll
what's
tell you
required
what.
in a war.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you. So, getting thrown around by the waves of material life is a lot more intense. I mean, that is really harsh on the spiritual soul. But what's happening at present is that the spiritual soul is under the illusion that whatever they're experiencing within a material world, well, it's actually very enjoyable. It's like the camel chewing the thorns and he's tasting his own blood and he's thinking, oh gosh, that kind of has a nice taste, not realizing. So, whatever the jiva goes through when he is materially embodied is going to be a lot worse, than when he actually starts walking this bhakti marg path. When the individual starts, taking shelter of Guru and instructions and letting go of materialistic lifestyles, which means letting go of sinful lifestyles, then immediately there is some cessation of these wild waves that are throwing the jiva around, right? Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy, when we take to Krishna consciousness, it's like pulling out a fan, pulling the cord out, right? So the fan is spinning, we pull the cord out, and it starts to slow down a little bit, and then after some time it'll stop altogether. So yeah, we do require some determination and some inner strength, but again, what we may experience as being a little bit austere, a little bit of tapasya, that is, it's actually good for us, but also, that is not comparable to the harshness of the material world. We know this, in Kali Yuga, we just need to go downtown to any city and we can just see how much people are suffering. Yeah? And the animals, thank you, all living beings are suffering. Yeah? Have I answered your question?
That's a very nice point.
Okay, thank you everyone very much for coming, and Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
A devotee like